we are ready to talk about the cinematic atrocity that is Grease 2.
Drinking just on the title.
Oh,
that's how you know it's really bad.
Didn't even make it into the fucking segment. I mean, come on.
Christ.
Oh my Lord, have mercy! I watched.
I have to make
afternoon.
an opening statement. May I make an opening statement?
Yes, tell me.
There's some things you shouldn't do, and that's make sequels of certain movies. One is The Sting. Sorry, Jackie Gleason, but we didn't need number 2. Jaws. The first one was quite sufficient. The second one was not horrible, but it was totally unnecessary to make. And Grease, fucking Grease, stood alone as far as a movie musical. And why in the world you'd come back and make this atrocious piece of shit? Oops.
I mean, hey, drink your fucking wine.
I guess by that time, Robert Stigwood had enough money.
I mean,
That's true.
all right.
Sorry.
Keep going if you want to keep going. I just want to hear you guys talk about it.
Dude,
Dave,
seriously, like I tuned in this, and it starts with the original characters, the 2 administration teachers trying to put the flag up, and then
that would be Eve Arden. Yeah,
scream of tires and a crash, and then it launches into the opening number. I'm like, did a fucking bus crash just happen at the beginning of this movie? Like, are all these kids dead? Are they all ghosts this whole movie? And it's like,
Dave, you're describing a better movie. What you're doing is describing. I would be interested in watching that movie.
I have a problem with movie musicals to start with. Okay, musicals on. I'm sitting in a theater watching a stage play, and there's music and dancing and singing. That seems natural to me. But people walking down the street breaking into song with full soundtrack doesn't seem normal to me. Now, I said that to my wife, and she went, "Oh, sure, but teleporting down to the planet from the Enterprise it seems normal to you." And I went,
"Your wife has to drink."
I said,
Carla, drink.
Yes, it does. It certainly does. Seems quite normal to me.
I completely agree. Let me just say that ahead of time. Jeff, the other co-host of this show, who's not with us tonight, and I met as majors in music theater in college. So we both have talked about this before too. I don't think he feels quite as passionate as I do. I really struggle with movie musicals. It lands okay for me if it's done really well on stage. I have a huge appreciation for that medium. But there are a handful of movie musicals that work for me. Most of them do not. So if it's a bad movie musical, it's going to be one of my least favorite experiences ever. It just feels forced. It feels out of place. I feel like
the original Grease worked for me. I think just because it was fun and the characters were great and the music was fantastic. Way better, by the way, than this music.
Way fucking better. Way fucking better. Yeah, let's drink, baby. Let's go.
Was this music?
That's glad, the question, Jack. I'm glad you started, because that was all I was thinking about. Was the first thing you said. There are some movies that
you just don't touch.
Should never be remade as a remade, or should never have a sequel.
Right.
And what is that for you guys? Why do you think that's true? Why are there some stories that land so kind of like the first Grease in such an absurd, random way that it just works? Some of them are horror movies that should never be touched again.
The first Grease worked because someone wrote a book and someone wrote some songs that were phenomenal. They spent years writing them, and it worked as a musical. They transferred it to a film, and it worked as a film. Now, I don't want to suggest that the writer of this particular film does prison time, but if I had access to a time machine and a pound of coke, I'd go back and plant some fucking evidence. I can tell you that.
There you go.
Sadly, I don't have a time machine.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the best lines I've heard all night.
Fuck you, Ken Finkelman and Jim Jacob. I mean, you guys.
No,
so I read.
But like, it was all Finkelman. The other guys were just the characters they recycled for this one.
You know what? And Ken Finkelman, let's not even hit on him too hard, because I was reading about this. This movie has slimy producers trying to exploit the success of the first one written all over it.
Sure.
Patricia Birch and Ken Finkelman did not have a finished script when they started this.
Yeah, they didn't. No.
They didn't even have a chance.
That's why
to try to tell
Frenchie
a good
disappears
story.
halfway through the movie because they decided to write her out.
Yeah. So this was just one of those times where they were so obviously, and you know what? This is what bothers me about movies. maybe it's a little bit different for people who are younger than us, who are coming up nowadays in this whole television generation. But for a long time, movies were kind of divided into two things. There were the sell out the movies, like big blockbuster things, which could still be super successful and entertaining. I'm not saying there's anything negative about that, but people knew they were making a lot of money in that part of Hollywood production. And then there was like the other half, like The Verdict and stuff, that were really serious, character driven dramas that won Oscars. This is one of those examples that gives both of those things a terrible fucking name. It's when slimy. It's when a slimy producer or production house decides, let's fucking keep jacking off that first one. Let's make as much money as we possibly fucking can. It doesn't matter what we put on screen, because people are going to come in and see it, and people are stupid. And nothing bothers me more than when they think an audience is dumb enough not to realize it sucks. Also, so congratulations, audiences of 1982, for realizing that this is a piece of shit and realizing that the thing is awesome.
At this point, it wasn't Grease. It was Screwballs the musical.
Yeah.
Only Screwballs was better written. Like,
do you guys also think that I'm not picking on the actors. Like, it's not their fault. But there was something very magical about the quality of performance from Travolta and Olivia Newton-John.
Yes.
And, several of the other, what's her name?
And Stockard Channing.
Stockard Channing, thank you. There was some really quality talent. So even if you're not a musical person and you sat down for the first Grease, you kind of have to be taken away a little bit and have respect for the quality and level of singing ability and acting ability that didn't exist as consistently in this.
Even when they did Grease live as a performance on TV networks,
NBC or
whatever. Like, that still worked. Like,
it's just a better show
as a production. Yeah, it still worked. Yeah,
and I don't think it's a coincidence that Grease in 1978 followed the very end of the disco craze, where dancing was very, very popular and a big deal. And Robert Stigwood had all his success with, Saturday Night Fever and the Bee Gees' success. And so a lot of that carried through into Grease, even though the eras were different. It was all about fun and dancing and music, and that was.
And they crossed that with the 80s films that were all about getting with the girl and like nailing the girl and that sort of thing. And
But why do we know that Grease is a good movie? Because I totally agree with what you both just said. But that's why it's proof. There was a momentum going into it, and yet it stands the test of time. It stood alone from Saturday Night Fever and from those other kinds of 80s movies that had a very similar kind of plot. Because it's just better. Because everything about it is more interesting than this piece of shit that opens with this number.
He was a little late on that one, but I knew it was coming.
This number at the very beginning, they do this thing that music theater does sometimes that is, I'm very judgmental of music theater because I care so much about that medium. It has one of those ensemble numbers at the beginning that pimps you in to being on board for singing and dancing. It doesn't even try to get into it organically. It doesn't even try to kind of surprise you with how it develops into song. It just says we're singing and dancing, blatant. And there's 150 of us. Fuck you if you don't like it.
And we're all in
nobody
unison,
liked
so take that.
I mean, Patricia Birch, who was the director, was the choreographer from Grease.
Poor Patricia Birch, dude. She did not want to make this movie. I feel bad for her.
She did. She stood in and she directed this, but it was the last thing she ever directed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like she was like, maybe I can make a good movie. And then she had no tools to make a good movie. She didn't even know what she was making when she was making it.
I mean, if you start making a movie and you don't have a script until like halfway through, then someone has hobbled you.
Yeah, I mean, there are examples of that. Ridley Scott has often gone into production without finishing a script, but he's got enough weight,
But Ridley Scott was writing the script, right?
I was going to say, he had so much influence in those productions, and they had so many amazing people around them, and most of them were not remakes of some random cult classic, that he was able to act on his feet a little bit. This was, I don't know, the more I read about this, the more I just felt like this is kind of a tragedy, because I felt like everybody involved was hoping it was going to be something really significant like the first one.
Like a
And
cash
it didn't
cow.
turn out that way for anyone. Yeah. Except for
Riding the wave.
God bless
of,
Michelle Pfeiffer. That is the
How
only
fucking
good thing
hot.
about
Yeah,
this
a
movie.
lot
How
of-
fucking
lot of
hot
the
is
times,
Michelle
yes.
Pfeiffer
I mean,
in this movie? Oh
Let's
my
just
God.
focus on Cool Rider for a second. I mean, seriously, when they were writing the song, it's like, what rhymes with forever? I know, forever.
Forever.
And I'm sorry, when we got to the end of it and they started spelling out Cool Rider.
Yeah,
My wife, my wife yells from the other room, like from the other room. She hasn't even. She sat through 35 minutes of this film. We got to Cool Rider. She's gone, and from the other room, I hear this song brought to you by Sesame Street.
Honestly, dude, RITER. I was like, there were
What
several
the fuck
times.
are you doing? Oh, okay.
There were several times when I was watching this where I literally I said out loud. Let's just tell our audience real fast. Jack sent us a video of him watching this, and his dog was on the couch with him,
Barking at the
howling
TV. Oh
at
my
this
God.
terrible
Dog
piece of
did
shit
not
movie.
like dog hate.
What song was that?
I think it was Who's That Guy? It was that
That
one.
guy?
Yeah. Who's that guy? God.
Oh, you
Right.
mean where they had a motorbike joust?
Yes, that one.
And then he jumps a police car without a fucking ramp? Yeah, great.
Yeah. That was it.
Jack, what was it like when this movie came out, dude? Did people fucking, unlike The Thing,
Nobody
did people go see
cared.
it?
Nobody cared.
gave a shit?
No.
I'm
No.
hurting in this segment.
Listen, Grease was so big in of itself. And when people saw the poster and realized that, oh, Grease 2, but wait, where's John Travolta and where's Olivia Newton-John? They're not in it? Okay, never mind.
Apparently
Never
they came in
mind,
for
right?
meetings and then just walked away.
Yeah,
I read one meeting. They had one
Yeah.
meeting, and then they.
Yeah. I never wasted my time with it. Saw it much later, maybe on VHS or maybe the first couple of years of DVD. I saw it and went, I didn't miss anything.
I saw this shit when it first came out.
Oh,
Ew, dude. How old were you when that happened? Oh, you were like a little kid.
I was like 10.
You're like, I want to see number 2, and then
Yeah.
you saw it. And your 10-year-old self was like, "Fuck this fucking."
And I didn't
Fuck
go.
this shit.
I didn't go back to musicals until Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah.
what else did Maxwell Caulfield do?
Maxwell Caulfield.
He was the guy
was-
that played the lead against Michelle Pfeiffer, and
Oh, he
Not
didn't-
much
he,
is the
yeah.
answer.
Yeah, he didn't do. He complained a lot that it's killed his career for like 10 years. But
Yeah,
career
he
apparently
was
killer.
in
he blames
Dynasty
this.
or something, wasn't he?
He was in Empire Records. He had a small role in that.
Mhm.
That
was
was
in,
his comeback.
Yeah, that was like kind of a reboot for him. He was in Dynasty. He was in some random show called The Colbys, just some TV.
well, the Colbys was a Dynasty spinoff. So
Okay.
Dynasty
Okay.
had a
Yeah.
spin-off? Jesus.
yes,
I mean,
But,
he never got it back.
we should talk about Chris McDonald getting his career launched by being
Yep.
in this movie.
Yep.
Mm,
And he's turned into a great comedic actor, and like Happy Gilmore, and
he did.
you know he plays.
I
mean,
plays
he even
I
had
eat
the.
pieces of shit like you for
Shooter!
breakfast.
Shooter
I mean,
McGavin.
does he just
You
point
eat
at
pieces
shit
of
in
shit for
every movie?
breakfast?
I mean, of course, that's all I thought about. And I remember thinking, like,
I can't see him as anyone
this
else.
guy,
Yeah,
he is Shooter. I mean,
he
he,
is
is
Shooter
McGavin.
McGavin always.
But like
always.
he was in this movie and he was like, I made it. Like everyone who was in this movie was thinking like, this is it. Everyone's gonna come see this movie,
Mhm.
and my entire career is about to explode. And there
Yeah.
were 2 people who were not intensely negatively affected
Right.
by this movie. Guess
Him
it's
and
kind of like
Michelle
the Star
Pfeiffer.
Wars
Yeah.
syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
it
tell you
was-
what, this
What do you
is
guys-
this is the hardest redemption I've had since the Hellboy remake, and that had at least 2 good lines in it.
That was rough.
I think I
let's just talk
texted you.
about- Go for it. What are you saying? Jack?
I was going to say, if you'll recall, I texted you when you first sent this out, and I went,
Yeah.
trying to redeem this movie is kind of like raising the Titanic, which we know is in pieces on the ocean floor. And I
Yep.
just don't think they're going to get that up, and I don't think we can get this up.
And after watching
It's
this
not-
movie,
you know how
I couldn't
even-
get it up either.
My wife, who's very forgiving when it comes to movies, you know, she'll say, "Oh, well, it was okay." She said, "I'm going to bed." She didn't even
I'm going
finish
to bed.
it.
This is
She's going, this
because
is horrible.
unlike some other bad movies,
There'll be
this
some
just gets
paperwork on the
worse.
table for you to sign tomorrow, but I'm going to bed right now.
I'm going to bed. Yeah.
You guys, I didn't think it was going to get any worse until they got to the luau.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of this motherfucker.
Dude, no, seriously, the luau is the only song that is reminiscent of the Grease themes.
Well, buzz yourself, because that's fucking terrible. I fucking hated it. And then I feel like the luau was as bad as it got for me. I was like, this could not get any worse. And then he's standing on top of some like fucking tiki hut.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The luau is worse than Let's Do It for Our Country.
That is fucked up. I mean, there was so much fucked up shit.
Like, there's a line in that, like, it's like we're doing it for Disneyland.
Oh my God.
What the fuck?
Okay, so let's tie it back, since we talked about it in this episode. Let's tie it back. Grease clearly, the original one even, Grease clearly has some questionable things and themes that they play with that still to this day don't bother me quite as much, because they had that satirical tongue in their cheek. They knew the absurdity of what they were doing. It was silly, and they were messing with that stuff through ridiculous positive song and dance, and it never ultimately bothered me. Those things did not land for me this time. So, like our conversation with Paul Newman punching the shit out of Charlotte in The Verdict, the shit in this movie made me squirm a lot more than
I mean, how do you top
Mm-hmm.
Frankie Avalon doing Beauty School Dropout? You can't do it, so you don't try. You know, That's why some movies shouldn't be. Some movies shouldn't have sequels.
One of these, the main song of the talent show the girls were singing sounded a lot like "Freddie My Love" remixed.
Yeah, there were a lot of songs in this that sounded like other popular songs from
from Grease.
Yeah, but they were definitely not as good. Once again, they did it and they bookended it. The opening, I was saying, it pimped me into like, get on board. The ending, I felt like they were like, remember that great "We Go Together" song from Grease? Well, we're going to try to shove another one down your fucking throat, whether you want it or not. And it's not going to be as good. And we're going to keep modulating
and it wasn't even
the key,
a good song.
and it's never going to end.
And we're going to have a 38-year-old guy be the nemesis of random people in this film.
Why is he why is that guy in this movie, dude?
He was in the original. He was back from the original, although I can't think of his name.
And like
Didi Khan was back, Eve Arden, and Sid Caesar. So they got like the supporting cast to make an appearance, but they couldn't get. I don't know that they even tried to get the. Well, sure they tried. Of course they did.
tried, but no.
So the rule of music theater, for anyone who gives a fuck, is that apparently, whether it's with comedy and absurdly drawn out or sincerely done dramatically, when characters can no longer discuss something.
Segment.
Don't even buzz yourself. You don't deserve
when
it.
they can no longer discuss something, they break into song. So I'm trying to think of my most quintessential moment where I was like, this is going against the rule, and it's just bad filmmaking. The reproduction song. There is a scene in this movie where there is a new teacher who is trying to teach the facts of life to this group of fucking high school students that first of all should have known what fucking happens.
Was that Connie Stevens? Was
Was
that her? Yeah, I think that was Connie Stevens doing that. Yeah.
They start singing about a song called Reproduction, and it's very cliche about a pistil and flower and pollination. And it is just a perfect example of how, if I was in that cutting room, I'd be like, cut. Like this does absolutely nothing to move our story forward. It progresses none of our characters.
No, it falls
not
into
even
the
a good
Screwballs reference I made before.
Yeah, exactly. It's just inherently, it's masturbatory music theater. Like we just want to have them singing on screen and thrusting their pelvises and making sexual innuendo. But it's not clever. It doesn't do anything for the story. You guys, I'm trying really hard to redeem this movie. I
can't even buzz that.
Well, I think you should put the gushing theme. He's gushing. He's trying his best.
He's gushing.
No, this is the calling like it is. We need to call him like it is, alarm.
He's trying to save a bad movie.
Bothered me.
I drank so much during the last week's segment.
What do you do? Were there any things that you guys like that? Was there anything that you were able to at least think to yourself, if they had changed this, could have worked. If they had done this differently, it maybe could have worked better. Was there anything in this movie that you felt like that, or was it just incessant wrong?
One thing. No, it was like from scene to scene, people's like character changed and people's performance changed, and there's no one thing that redeems any of this.
I would have to disagree. I think if they had chosen a different bowling alley.
It's just, you know what? Yeah, the only fucking problem with this movie is the bowling alley. That's another number. Jack, I'm so glad you said that, dude. That number, what the fuck is that number doing in this fucking movie,
dude? Score tonight? Yeah, again, screwballs. It's the screwball / Porky's thing that happened in the 80s.
I'm hurting.
It was just not endearing at all. There was nothing about it. But you're right. The only problem with this movie is the bowling alley. That's what
fix that, and you'll fix the movie.
That scene bothered me a lot as well. That was my second example of what's wrong with this, is that they didn't play by the rules. There was no reason for that number to be in this movie. I could even understand why there was the reason. There was the reason for some of the
I'm
other
leaving
numbers.
that in because, quite frankly, there's been a lot of buzzers.
There was a reason for some of the others to be in there. Even the early number, Back to School or whatever the fuck it's called. I understand why the number was there. It just wasn't earned. It wasn't justified, but I understand story-wise why they wanted a song to have people go back to Greece, like back to the high school, back to this thing. It just wasn't executed well. But there were 3 or 4 musical numbers in this movie that literally did not progress the story or tell us anything about character, on top of being just shitty songs. So I just don't. There were just so many examples.
Well, they picked the wrong
like
title.
that.
First of all, it should have been Mission Impossible. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
Dave, tell me one redemption quality you could say about this movie. Give me something. Give me something that you enjoyed about it, or that was okay, or that you could have wanted to be better. Or
the actor who played Johnny, committed 100%.
It was Johnny.
Like, as far as he was concerned, this was his fucking breakout. He was going for it. He was going to make it.
Oh, that was Chris McDonald. That was Chris McDonald's character.
And where did he end up?
The guy who played. Wait. Johnny is Goose? Hold on a second. Who is? Oh wait, yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, you don't remember the characters? You blocked us out already.
It's Christopher McDonald.
Yeah, hold on a second. Which one is Johnny?
It's Shooter McGavin. That's who he's talking about.
It is Shooter, right? Yeah. He was really excited.
Yeah, he was committed to the role,
and he took a risk.
He did,
and they failed. I mean, they committed everything to this thing. He had all like the bass lines, like the speaky reproduction. Like,
the only redemption is looking at Michelle Pfeiffer for 90 minutes or less. That's the only redemption.
I mean, let's be real. That is just proof in the pudding that everybody talks about the it factor, the thing, whatever fucking weird vocabulary you want to use to say whenever you look at someone and just realize they've got a lot of talent and I don't mind anything they do. They could take a shit on stage and it's still interesting. Michelle Pfeiffer somehow does not bother me in this movie.
Yeah.
Like there's this, she's, even though she's singing what's the
bad songs,
Cool Rider and that ridiculous fucking, when she thinks he's dead from the bike at the end.
Yeah, I'm like, they just technically killed a guy and everyone's kind of forgiving about that.
Let's go to a luau.
Yeah.
Let's go to a luau.
All right, we've touched on this enough. I mean, we tried to redeem
I want to put the radiation hazardous waste warning on the cover of this movie. Do not rewatch this movie. Do not watch this. I don't care, dude. Fuck it.
Don't do it.
Do y'all disagree? Are you gonna?
No one is disagreeing with you. We failed at redeeming this.
We did fail at redeeming this. I'm really sorry.